Inio Asano, mangaka that makes our lives even miserable. If you have read Goodnight Punpun, you know what I'm talking about. His work is not enjoyable, he will take you to places you never even imagined. He will force you to look at life as it is, and his work will change your perspective on many things. That's why I love this guy. Asano has the ability to take the most pathetic, perverted and trashiest characters and make us empathize with them. He tells us that we are all messed up, and sometimes, when I read his manga, I feel like he's talking directly to me. That's why I decided it was time for another day of getting crushed by his work. Before Dawn and the End of the World is a volume with 9 one-shots by Inio Asano. Mostly it is about young people or people in general with their problems in everyday life. We often read manga as a means to satisfy our fantasies, a means of temporary escapism from the real world. However, it can be painful to read stories that portray the very reality which we try to escape from, especially if they are an abstract reflection of ourselves, and more so if they are about loneliness and everyday life. These kinds of realist stories are where Inio Asano is good at, and it is very evident in his works, including Before Dawn and The End of the World. Although it is not as psychologically depressing, absurd, or fantastical as some of Asano's other works, this manga still paints a bleak portrayal of the lives of common people in society. The manga starts off with Untitled, a brief colored chapter that is only shown visually with no text, and it establishes 2 themes. One of the themes shows that the lives of people are intertwined, and it does this by having the characters happen upon one another by coincidence. Although it does establish the recurring theme of coincidence, the second theme is more important. So, second theme is that no matter how different people are, everyone has a story to tell, and the chapter does this by showing 3 different sets of people: adults, adolescents and kids. First chapter was little too intense. I was like, I can chill and read it, but it's Inio Asano, that's not gonna work. The chapter is called Before Dawn. It is about the night and what things happen in nights, but you still wake up every morning and start a new day. Miracles happen, tragedies happen, accidents happen, and people keep waking up to find out what happens next without realizing it. Sun always comes up if you like it or not. The days are passing by and your life is just a leaf in the forest. You are not that special. You can get kinda lost in this manga because it has many different worlds and many characters, but I still loved it. From chapter 3 onwards is where the real set of short stories begin. Melancholic in its tone, each story is a reflection on life, exploring the present concerns of each main character or the indifference that some of them feel as they come to realization or try to find a sense of purpose in their lives. Chapter 4 does this brilliantly because in it we get to see the contrast in the struggles between the father who is an adult, a young adult, and the student who is an adolescent. Through this, we not only get to see that age is something that segregates society, but also the fact that regardless of age, everyone has their own struggles. The idea of what we expect life to be like versus what it actually turns out to be like. In chapter 5, we get a shop clerk who dreams of happier and romantic life, then falls in love at first sight, only to later be disappointed by her expectations. Next, there is chapter 6, How to Spend a Day Off. In it, we get a character who does not really have a sense of purpose in life, choosing to go with the flow of life instead of having and pursuing dreams because she believes that they would just do her more harm than good. The chapter invokes a sense of regret that, although not said but implied, the character should have spent her life doing better things instead of just going with the flow of life. It is a nice chapter reminding us that if we really want to do something or are passionate about something, then we should pursue it instead of idling away with time. The following chapter, What a Wonderful World, is more nostalgic in nature. It has the main character reading a letter she wrote to herself 5 years ago, reflecting on the belief that she has become a boring adult and that the world she had imagined is nothing but a vague mirage. The last highlight of the short story is chapter 9, Tokyo. Sometimes I think if I open my eyes, I will be a kid again, and none of this will have happened. But it has happened. a mangaka who is getting nowhere in his career. It is similar to chapter 6 in the sense of that it also invokes a sense of regret and also loneliness. This chapter was kinda emotional for me because the feeling of regret is something that is almost impossible to escape from. Most of the characters long for something grander than what they had either imagined or are currently facing. They long for a reality that only exists in their dreams, a kind of life that is better than their current one, the boring life. At the end of these stories, the characters continue on with their life just like real humans. If dawn is a representation of their hope, then the journeys that we are presented within this manga are a representation of before dawn. Many of us, like the characters in the story, long for a life that is better than our current one, and many of us are even perhaps facing the problems that are presented in the manga. Although not everyone will be able to directly relate to all of the stories, there is something in it for everyone because each story takes a realistic approach to the characters' problems. Through this manga, Inio Asano challenges us to reflect on our lives and face our own realities, no matter how harsh or mundane it is. I really recommend you guys to try this manga. It is kinda hard to talk about one-shot mangas without spoiling it, especially with 9 different stories, but I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts about this manga. Thank you for watching and goodbye.